Hello everyone, my name is Risha and today I'm going to talk about all the books I read in the month of April. I read quite a lot of books in April, but I can't believe it's almost mid of May and I haven't filmed a reading wrap up for April. I read 9 books and that was almost 1,437 pages. 43% of them were fiction and 57% were non-fiction. I had 3 5-star reads in April, which was amazing. I think there was a pretty common theme in terms of the book I read in April. So, the nonfiction I read was focused around mental health, and the fiction I read was focused around family. And then I read a few children's books because I'm a mom now and I do tend to read children's books as well. So I'm going to talk about the first nonfiction book I read, which was the first book I finished in the month of April, and it was called Unmasked, The Ultimate Guide to ADHD, Autism and Neurodivergence by Ellie Middleton. Ellie Middleton was diagnosed with autism and ADHD as an adult, and that's why she decided to write this book, and she's an advocate for autism and neurodivergence in the UK. I thought it was a really important book. I really needed to read it. It just contained really important messages and how a neurodivergent person thinks and talks and feels and what it means and how to be more inclusive for them in personal life as well as in professional setups. That being said, I didn't like the pacing of the book. The writing felt a bit repetitive and the pacing was slow, and I understand that the author was trying to do it for neurodivergent people, but I was struggling. I felt like I had to really work for it to find out what the author wanted to say. I guess it just made it more difficult for me to reach the message. So I gave it a rating of 2 stars. But I still think it's worth the read if you are interested in neurodivergence, autism, and ADHD. The next non-fiction read I read was The Body Keeps the Score, Brain, Mind and Body in the Healing of Trauma by Bessel van der Kolk. Now this book took me a while to finish, but I finished it in the month of April and I gave it a 4 star or a 3.75, let's say. I absolutely needed this book. So the book is about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's a comprehensive look at trauma, the work that has been done around trauma, the therapies, the treatment modalities available today, how it affects a person. It's written by this American Dutch psychologist. It was published in 2014. It's a long, chunky book, I think around 400, 500 pages long. So I was intrigued, obviously, by the concept of trauma, and it covers lots of things, which I really appreciated because it covers a lot of history around research regarding trauma. What I didn't like about the book was that it was heavily American focused. And when I say American focused, it was more focused on the American veterans, the army. It made me realize that a lot of the money for trauma research is spent on American vets because those are the people the government needs to keep sending to wars, and not the survivors of the said wars. In the book, the author keeps mentioning how the soldiers who killed people in Vietnam, had PTSD and what he did to help them. I think it reflects where the funding comes from. But it did bother me, the language around the killing, the murder of people in Vietnam, Iraq. Even decades later, these men are struggling with drug addiction, trauma-related issues, cycles of abuse. And the sad part is that men keep going to war because they are being sent to war again and again and again. So it was a very heavy read, and it was a lot to sit with. But the chapters on the management of trauma were really interesting, and I really loved the last few chapters on neurofeedback, yoga, internal family system therapy. It was interesting to read these concepts like in a solid research backed up form. I think this book should cover with a trigger warning. It not only deals with trauma but also deals with war, child abuse, sexual abuse in detail. I was reading it postpartum. I don't think anyone postpartum should be picking this book up. And I have lots of favorite quotes, lots and lots of favorite quotes from here. I'm not going to go through those quotes, but I have shared them on my Goodreads review if anyone is interested. So that was the second nonfiction book I read. So the next book I read was Here Be Icebergs by Katya Adu, translated by Rosalind Harvey. So this book is published by Charco Press. It was a short book which I picked up because I'm doing this challenge to read a book from every country in the world, and this book is translated from Spanish and written by a Peruvian writer. And it's a collection of 12 short stories, all centered around the themes of family dysfunction. Themes of family dysfunction I'm absolutely loving at the moment, but I just couldn't connect with the writing style. I felt the writing style was very disruptive and with short sentences, and from what I understand, this was intentional because the author was trying to write in a way that memories work, so they're very interruptive and disruptive. I understand it's a difficult thing to do, and I understand that the author was trying to be intentional about it, but as a reader, I found it difficult to read. It created a distance between me and the stories, and I just couldn't get past that distance. I love the idea and concept of it, but I couldn't experience it fully as a reader. One of the stories that stood out to me was the last story in the book, and it was about the relationship between the mother and daughter after the father has died. I really liked that story. The themes were dark. Obviously, it deals with family dysfunction. It's a bit heavy. I gave it a 2-star. I didn't really love it. I think this was a bit of a miss for me. I might read something else by a Peruvian writer if I can find something, but I'm happy I read it. The next book which I read was a surprise find. I found it on Libby from my local library. I was looking for books about family, and then I come across this book. It's a memoir. So I guess this counts as nonfiction as well. It didn't feel like nonfiction when I was reading it. It felt really immersive and I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 5-star. I absolutely loved it. Let me share the name of the book. It's called The Smallest Things on the Enduring Power of Family, a memoir of tiny dramas by Nick Durden. From what I understand, he's a journalist and he's written a few books here and there. This one is about his relationship with his grandparents who are from Italy. I loved the writing, the tone. It was beautiful. It was about how this man had nothing in common with his grandparents, and yet he continues to visit them every summer for a few weeks. There was a language barrier. They spoke Italian, he spoke English. The relationship was really sweet and I absolutely loved it. I found it really relatable. The way he talked about his grandparents from being another generation, the way they thought how their household was run was so different from how he was living in the UK. The book started with his childhood, him going back to Italy with his mother, hot summer days spent in silence doing nothing with his grandparents. And then his grandparents had this very specific routine they would follow. Then the book follows him after his mother died, and then he continues having this relationship with his grandparents. He takes his daughter there. Through all of this, his grandparents keep getting older. Towards the end, there are these family secrets being revealed, which were always just, left unsaid. And these small things, these unsaid... Ooh, my baby's up. So I went back home last month and I thought it was such a fun book to read before I went. And it was just... I read the book at the right moment and that's why I absolutely loved it. So the next book which I read was a children's book, and it was The Space We're In by Katya Bellin. It's a story about this 10-year-old boy who has a younger brother with autism, and I absolutely loved this book. It was heartwarming, heart-wrenching, 5 out of 5 star read. It's written from the perspective of this 10-year-old boy. He shares his experience of what it feels like to have a brother with autism, how he feels when his parents are constantly taking care of his brother more than him, the bullying he faces because of his brother, the push and pull of loving his brother. He also desperately wants to be seen. I thought the book was written beautifully. It captures the family dynamic absolutely brilliantly. The care the mother is showing towards both her sons, the parents trying to be present, and then slowly the brother, this 10-year-old, coming to terms with his younger brother having autism. and coming to terms with the fact that his family is different than other families. In terms of children's book, I read Happy Animals. This was a present for Hamza. It is recommended for 3 years plus, so he didn't really get along with it, at least not yet. The next book I read was First Steps, I Can Brush My Teeth by Claire Phillips, and the illustrations are by Yenna Mariana. I gave it as a gift to my 3.5-year-old nephew, and in this, basically 2 dinosaurs learn to brush their teeth together. It was really cute, and I think really helpful for kids who are trying to get into the habit of brushing their teeth. The next book which I read was The Pet Potato by Josh Lacey and Momoko Abe. And this was really cute. It was a fictional story about this boy who wants a pet and he gets a potato as a pet. And it was really, really cute. I absolutely loved it. I gave it a 5-star. Then I read Nature Stories, Little Chick. It was a board book by Suzanne Fossey, illustrated by Gina Maldonado. I gave it a 4-star. It was, again, really cute. I absolutely love books like this, and amazing illustrations as well. So that's it, guys. Those are all the books I read in the month of April. I did buy lots of books in Pakistan. I did some damage, and I can't wait to share them all with you because it's one of the most amazing haul ever, because it's just such a unique collection of books I was able to grab in Islamabad. I did film a bit of a vlog in the bookstore I went to, so I'm going to share that as well. I am reading a bit in May as well, not as much as I was reading in the month of April, but I'm trying. I'm reading What Have I Done by Laura Dockrell. It's a memoir about postpartum psychosis. I'm reading Nation of Strangers by Essie Temelkuran, which is shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Nonfiction. I will hopefully see you guys soon in my next video. Bye.